now that's actually recording, I'm going to give you the floor.
All right, so thank you guys so much for coming to Parent Night. We're so glad to see so many faces. We just wanted to do this as a courtesy to, inform you guys about what exactly our club entails, and just let you guys know a little bit more about what to expect in the coming season, since your kid's going to be spending a lot of time. Okay, so we'll just start off with introductions on the fields and the team leads. So we are the student leaders. We're going to be working with your students a lot. You guys are going to be learning a lot from us, and we'll also be, leading you guys in all the different types of categories. So we're just going to introduce ourselves and then a little bit about the field that we work within. So Derek, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I'm Derek Roy. I'm the lead of digital media, and what we do is essentially make social media posts to advertise things that we're doing, such as like events, demonstrations at schools, et cetera, and then make videos is something else we do, such as robot reveals are videos that show off a team's robot at the start of a season, and Chairman's Award video, which is a requirement for one of the awards that we submit.
So then I'm Dylan Newton. I co-lead strategy and scouting with Meg, who couldn't make it today. At the start of the year, we're very big on the strategy of the game and like the game analysis. And then when we get more towards the season and in the competitions, we do all of the strategic analysis of other teams and scout them for line selections and all of that.
All right, next up we have Noah. He couldn't make it today, but he is our design lead. He basically comes up with the designs, as you can assume from the title of the thing. And some of the mechanisms that you see on this robot, that's the type of things that falls under his category. He designs it using computer-aided design, or CAD. So that's something that's really cool. And then I am the electrical lead. I'm Hannah Walker. Basically what I do is I focus more on the electronics portion of our robot, so powering and making sure that the mechanisms that Noah or Stanford design are able to be usable and basically efficient as a robot.
And I'm Stanford Rafila. I'm the head of manufacturing, and I'm basically responsible for making all the robot parts and then putting them together, or overseeing all of that kind of stuff, as well as offering kind of advice to designers about how to make stuff more manufacturable or assembly.
And then, so we do have two categories who we don't have a lead because of COVID and stuff. We've had a lot of students graduate over the years and not much to replace them with. So those two categories are programming, which is coding the robot to do things after we've built it. We use Java. It's a language for programming. So if your students are interested in that. Or we have business, which is a little bit of a kind of not so robotics related topic, but we do have a lot of money that we have to keep track of and how much we spend, because a lot of our parts are pretty expensive and our regionals and stuff like that. And we also do a lot of like surveys, like the one that you received for food in the shop, and so we need a lead for that to oversee all of that.
So all of us kind of have taken under our belts the other two categories. Obviously these are still something that's available for your students to be interested in. So just emphasize to them if they're interested in something like that, we still have the resources to make it happen so they can pursue it. All right, next slide. So who exactly are we? We are an FRC, which stands for First Robotics Competition Team. Richie will go in more in depth about what exactly that entails later on. We are led by our faculty advisor, Mr. Rosenberg, and our lovely mentors, which you see scattered across the room. They generously volunteer their time, and they really make it possible for us to do. Mr. Rosenberg, why don't you say a few words about yourself?
Hi, I'm Mr. Rosenberg, Michael Rosenberg. I started working here about 4 or 5 years ago, and I have a degree. My degree's in physics, and I teach AP Physics here, and then I also teach the freshman level of engineering here, which is really nice for us to find new students right away before they spend a few years at South not even knowing the program exists, which is really cool. And so there are 4 years of engineering classes here. You don't have to, you can kind of mix and match the order, but if your son or daughter didn't know that, they're Project Lead the Way courses. And the one that I teach is like, it's designed for freshmen, but there's always seniors in my class. Mine is the one that has the most 3D printing and 3D modeling. So I have 10 3D printers in my back room, and I teach 3D modeling throughout the day. I do not know how to actually run the CNC machine. They do. So they're the ones that design and build the robot basically completely. I help them buy stuff and get buses and do lots of paperwork and stuff like that. So that's why I'm really glad that we have mentors that also know how to help build robots. Some of them are professional engineers, some of them are former students that have gone through the program, learning through this actual program and then going on and doing engineering and coming back, which is really cool that in the future, if your son or daughter wants to help us build another robot, like, feel free. Like, we're always happy to have the help. But yeah, I'll give the floor back to them because it's really their club. I'm just here to help them.
So this is Mr. Rosenberg. You guys can talk to him a little bit later if you want to learn more. Okay, and then so basically more about what our team entails. Basically, we are a team that builds problem solving and STEM skills together as a team while making an efficient robot. So basically, it's very teamwork oriented, and it's very focused on making sure that your students obtain the skills necessary to pursue a career successfully, whether that's a career in business or a career in engineering. And then another thing that we like to emphasize to our members is that we do accept basically everyone. Your student doesn't have to have prior STEM experience or anything like that. We really want to emphasize that there's a place for everyone on our team, regardless of what interest that student may have. Derek will go a little bit more in depth in the next slide on what exactly that entails.
Yeah, so what will your child get out of Torbots? So under the guidance of our experienced mentors and our leads, your student can learn technical skills such as CAD, which we use Onshape for.
So you can read off the screen and speak towards them.
CAD, which we use Onshape for, soldering, welding, machining, which we use the CNC, which is this machine, and the mill, which is that machine over there. Budgeting, programming, which like I said, was in Java, is what we use here. And about the engineering design process or video editing. So there's a lot of different skills, and so whatever your child is interested in, we'll have something for you. And a lot of these skills can be applied in real-world scenarios and help them find jobs and stuff like that. We also learn a lot of soft skills, such as teamwork, problem-solving, and strategy skills. These are just everyday life skills that are excellent for your student to have. And FIRST also heavily emphasizes that kids should work together and learn from each other, and it's generally a big host for diversity and collaboration. So there's a lot of opportunities for your child to learn whatever they're interested in.
So now that you know actually like how we operate, this is how our actual season looks. So this is kind of what we're getting ready for. So the season starts with kickoff, which is basically a live stream that we all watch together at 9 a.m. on January 8th, 2022. Basically from that day onwards, it's 3 to 10 p.m. on weekdays that we're open. Obviously these hours might change day on day, but generally try to stick to 3 to 10 p.m., 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. weekdays and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekends.
We'll send the slides around too, so you don't have to
Yeah.
take pictures.
So from that point onward, and then we stop for finals week just to maintain some semblance of sanity during all that. Shops close during all of that, and then we start right back up after that. The last day of build season proper is March 17th, which is loaded day for San Diego Regional. After that is when competition season starts. So we'll compete at San Diego, and then probably between San Diego and LA, we'll keep staying open and keep iterating on the robot, upgrades, things like that. And then if we manage to qualify at either San Diego or LA, we'll go to Worlds at Houston, Texas, and then probably keep iterating right up until Worlds. Next slide. So speaking of regionals, these are the two regionals that we're going to. So the closer one and kind of the more relevant one to you guys is the Los Angeles Regional. It's at Da Vinci Schools in El Segundo. It's the very local, about 20 minutes away. We're not really sure how the COVID situation is going to be later then, but usually These events are open to the public and free, so we get a lot of parents coming to watch the robot, fun robot stuff. We actually charge a little bit just for food both days because we serve lunch both days at the event. And then the kind of travel regional we're doing is the San Diego regional. So it's at the Del Mar Fairgrounds in Del Mar. And we obviously can't fit the bill for all of the travel expenses, and we'll kind of get into this later. But it's roughly about $200 total for us for travel, board, food, things like that. Yeah.
So we use Slack as our primary communication source for you guys for questions, announcements, discussions, and information about our competitions. We create channels for our regionals to talk about how we organize it and then more information about them when we get closer to the event. But the important channels that we, I guess, recommend you guys to join would be general, which you are already all in, random, questions, and parent communication. General is mainly for announcements from the board or mentors about if the shop's open or what we plan to do for the workday. Random would be more like STEM-related discussions and discoveries, so like NASA sends some satellite into space, that would probably go in random. Questions would be for really any questions from the students or from you parents. But we highly recommend the parent communication channel, which will be the channel that we use to communicate with you guys and for you guys to just talk with us and the mentors. We also expect students to maintain good etiquette while using Slack. So like not posting actually random stuff in the random channel.
So basically, this is the platform that we utilize for communicating with our team. So there are a lot of very important people, at least for our team, on this channel. For example, there's like sponsors, there's mentors, obviously, and then there's also alumni who are people who graduated in the years past. So a lot of people are on this. So we've already talked to your students, emphasized how to navigate Slack. If you guys need to join Slack, or if you guys want to learn a little bit more of how to utilize Slack, because it can be a little bit confusing and daunting when you first download it, you guys can reach out to any of the mentors or any of the students after this presentation, and we'll be more than happy to help you guys. And then, all right, so now we're going to segue into Richie's little talk, and he's going to tell you guys a little bit more about FIRST and what our team is basically all about.
Thank you for coming, everyone. So I graduated from South in 2007. I was on the team all the years I was here in high school. As you can see up there, I went to USC. I currently work at like a VR startup in Culver City. Some of the older students have been. We'll have to schedule time for you guys to come out and see it. It's a lot of fun. And I've pretty much been mentoring the team full-time since around 2013. So as they point out, Mr. Rosenberg, I just want to point out some of our other mentors. Hopefully many of you know Mr. Petito. If your child went to Richardson. So Mr. Petito, Jerry, I actually don't know where Jerry is, but he's over here. Jerry's also another Torbots alum. 2008, yeah, 1 year younger than me. And then we have Eric, who's so he's from a different team actually, so we're very fortunate to have Eric. He's wearing a sweatshirt from Team 330. They're actually in Hermosa Beach.
Or they were.
They were, yeah, sorry. And actually we're really fortunate to have Eric. He's a head ref for the competitions, and so Eric has like a vast amount of knowledge and about the history of FIRST, and specifically when we break the rules, he's quick to tell us when we're messing up. And so then with Kevin, who I think some of you who were here earlier talked to. Kevin is a former parent actually, and he's stuck around. He's an electrical engineer. And we have Lauren. Joined us fairly recently, but she's from Moog, and we're really happy to have her here. And so then the last one up there is, I don't think Steve's here, right? No. So Steve Cohen used to work at Boeing. He's our Boeing guy, and used to be in the Air Force. And we'll just move on. So a little about the team history. So the team was actually founded in 2002. We're FRC team 1197. So as the kid said, the competition's called first Robotics competition. So they host yearly competitions at all different levels. There's a high school, middle school levels of the competition. So the big thing kind of to know though is that we are 1197, even though our you'll see a lot of stuff around the shop being Torbots. That Torbots thing started in 2009. Initially, we were just the South High Robotics Club. We didn't really have a name other than that. And then we started Torbots because this team actually was one of the first teams in this area, and so we opened the team up to every high school. So initially, we had students coming here from Torrance High and West High. Participation has been pretty spotty, but we actually were able to eventually start our sister team in West Torrance. So West High School has a full team just like this one, and it actually spawned out of this team. So I keep using the word team because we really function much more like a sports team. Like, I don't know if any of your kids are in sports. We don't really have usually a lot of crossover between sports and us, but the team functions more like a sports team. We're not kind of like just a regular club in that we operate like year round, and we go to competitions, and we actually compete with other teams in our area. So I think the kids laid out the season, right? There's kind of two parts. There's where we build the robot, and then there's where we go and we compete. So just to kind of give you guys the enormity of the challenge that they're going to face is every year we have no idea what the game is going to be. Right? Like right now, we have no idea. And so they're going to give us like a rule book, and they're going to give us like a field and game pieces. So kind of imagine like if you didn't actually know what tennis was, and then I told you there's going to be this little fuzzy ball in this net, and you had to hit into these squares and design something to actually do that. That's kind of the challenge. You would have to come up with a racket, and like most people probably don't come up with a very good racket on the first try, right? We really only get one chance, so the kids, well, we get two chances, I guess, kind of, but the kids have to, in 6 weeks, work with the mentors to come up with a robot that actually can play a game like that. So we're here, I think they said, we're here a lot of hours. We do try to minimize the hours, and it's a little longer than 6 weeks now. I guess I wrote that on there, but we get a little longer than 6 weeks now. So I just want to show you guys kind of a game. So I'm going to say so this is actually the 2020 game. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details about exactly what happens, but I just kind of want you to get a feel of like what a match would look like. So just to start off some things, I know it's hard to see right now, but I'll full screen in a second.
We'll fill the lights too.
Yeah, the game is typically 3-on-3. Usually, generally speaking, so this is one of the things I'm seeing generally a lot because FRC, the rules are totally different every year. Like I can't say like there are certain things that are very common, but not all things. So generally it's 3-on-3. Generally we play what I would say is full contact, meaning that you're allowed to run into other robots. We actually play defense. There's a defense and offensive kind of thing. And so we're 1197. So we're going to be on the red. So if you see our robot, it's this robot except with red bumpers.
Audio is not going to be too loud, but it's mostly the visual anyway.
3, 2, 1, go! And here we go. The droids are on the Red Alliance. A barrage go up for the Blue Alliance. We got 30 points, 34. A couple more for the Red Alliance. That's West Torrance that helps put those up. Red Alliance has the lead, 55-34 going into the teleop period. We got Torbots playing a little defense, ramming 40-19 right into the wall.
We're on the far right.
That's Mechanical Paradise. Their alliance partner, Cyber Cubs. 5802 putting. Oh, nice shooting over there on the red. West Torrance Robotics. Free reign there over in the blue sector. The red sector, there goes some more. From Los Demotores. Demotores is going over there, gonna go pick up some from their loading station in the blue zone. And the red goes up some more. Torbots screaming them up. Red's got a line, 50 seconds left to go on the match, 94-50. Stemateros able to shoot from the wrench run. And there goes Torbots again, along with their alliance partner, just screaming them in. West Torrance and Torbots are just screaming them up, streaming the power cells into that outer port on their alliance partner. 2576. We have the Blue Alliance with their 3 robot hanging and balancing. Here they go. That's 75 points, and the Red Alliance is going up. Red Alliance has their 3 robot, 3 droid, switch balance. Red Alliance, Blue Alliance. Oh no, it's with the win.
This was
5, 3.
That. Okay. Do you guys know what the full screen button is?
Oh. This Steve. Oh my gosh, I keep doing that.
So, hopefully that was exciting. You know, you guys kind of got a feel at least of what, you know, why we're so excited and why it's so fun to compete. The FRC, as an alum, you know, FRC is one of the hardest things I did in high school. It's intentionally hard. And as the saying kind of goes, you know, nothing worth doing is easy, right? So, like, why should your student do this if it's so difficult? It's kind of a one-of-a-kind educational experience. I kind of wrote this up here. Where we're challenged to take classroom lessons with the students and actually apply them to complex problems, you know? For the most part, kind of education in high school, right, is you kind of like learn a bunch of stuff and then you go on to the next class. We actually try to take what they're learning and apply them to an actual problem and actually build something with that. So it's unique in that way, and the students get to work alongside industry professionals as well as learn from each other about you know, how to do things and industry practices. And I think it gives the students a really unique glimpse into like what real work or what work is going to be like when they go eventually reach that. And I know for some of my friends who were in the club and didn't go into engineering, this was like a really big tool for them to realize something that it wasn't what they wanted to do, or whether it was something they wanted to pursue. And with the class of college, that's a very valuable lesson to learn. Just speaking personally, FRC didn't just teach me about software engineering, but it taught me about like working on a team and how to communicate with a team. And you know, maybe I'm still not that great at it, but how to attempt to lead a team. And those are skills that are very valuable in the workplace. And yeah, and it's a lot of fun. So hopefully that's the big thing. But yeah. So the one kind of caveat I'll say to this is that Torbots is more of an apprenticeship than it is necessarily an educational course. We don't have a 4-year program on what your student is supposed to learn, and it's because we're constantly just going to the next challenge and the next challenge, and it's more like the journey is the lesson, more than like I have a list of things that they're supposed to learn. Because of that, in the past, we've struggled kind of with making sure all the kids are being involved, and so definitely, if your child is like not feeling involved or needs help being more involved, definitely feel free to reach out to us. It's something we know is a difficult part of the program because of the fast-paced nature and because things are constantly changing here in the shop. The one thing I'll mention about that though is that we do kind of have, and especially the students we have here, we often have to do things that everyone might not view as important at the time, like just to pick something on the robot, like we have to build these bumpers. They're made of plywood and pool noodles.
Are you roasting Dylan's work?
No, they look good.
No, the bumpers are well made, but it's not like the most exciting thing. It's not running the CNC machine, but they have to be made. Also, the robot can't have any sharp edges. Like, you have to be able to just do all of this and not get cut. Which means somebody took a file and filed the robot. There's always stuff that needs to be done. And so if you ask us, we can definitely tell you something that needs to be done. It might be filing, but it needs to be done.
It might be vacuuming up all the stuff off the carpet so we can practice.
And we're open a lot only because different mentors and people have different programs. Some kids are on the swim team, they're on different teams, and no one can decide 3 days to be open a week. But no one we don't want anyone coming really every day, and no one really can, and that's why we're open a lot, is that we have people sign up, which we're going to kind of talk to you guys about, like to do shifts, because we're like a team of 30 to 40 people that are building a robot. We don't always have 30 to 40 people here. It's usually more like 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Different people, different days, doing different things.
Yeah. So just to wrap the point up, that like building the bumpers, Eric would disqualify us from competing at a regional if we didn't build the bumpers, and it might, like I said, seem that important when you're doing it because it's just stapling pool noodles to plywood, but it's vitally important that we accomplish some of these tasks. So I know sometimes we ask you guys to do things you might not think are fun at the time, but it's the journey, not the individual task. So one of the things I've heard a lot of students tell me, alums, is kind of like you get what you put in. As Hannah mentioned, we welcome any student, any commitment level. We're not a team. We don't have some rules, or we don't cut people or anything.
There's no attendance.
There's no attendance. But if you're not here learning from the other students and learning from the mentors, you're not going to be able to get as much out as some other students will who are here often. That isn't me like trying to threaten your student or say something, but just I think that's just something you should know. Right?
Some kids kind of try to come once every 2 weeks, and they walk into the shop, and it's like, whoa, the robot's changed a lot. It's like, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, which we don't want. We might make sure everyone knows that like this is a very intensive thing. Like it takes a lot of time if you really want to get the full experience. But if you can only come once a week, we're happy to have you.
Yes. And I think the last thing is a lot of people think Robotics Club, they think just STEM. And we're way more than STEM. And you guys get to kind of have the tour of the shop. I hope you see some of the artwork and some of the other creative outlets that the students really have that we're really proud that they're able to find a way to balance both parts of their brain. So kind of obligatory advertising slide here. Another reason to be involved in FIRST. Every year FIRST gives away millions of dollars in scholarships to seniors for college. There's a link here that you can click when we send the slides out for the actual information for whatever school your student, son or daughter may go in the future. Some of them are full rides. Some of them you don't even have to major in a STEM field. Yeah, so that's another big reason to do this. So to me, Torbots is more than just a club. It's a robotics team, a STEM community leader, a hands-on educational program, and so much more. Our core mission of educating and inspiring students defines what we do as a group, but how we do it is defined by the students who are involved in the team each year. So it's really on each and every one of our students to keep raising the bar. More than that, Torbots has a legacy of success on and off the competitive field. We're a very competitive team for our area, consistently making playoffs at almost every event we go to. And off the field, we have deep roots supporting our sponsors, other local teams, and our community. It's a legacy and reputation that our alumni, mentors, parents, faculty, and supporters have worked hard to build over the last 19 years. And it's up to all of us to carry that on. So that's kind of my spiel about Torbots.
I think there's one thing I want to add too. It's also a very great job opportunity too, because a lot of these students have a lot of internships with Moog, or Raytheon, or Boeing. So it's a great also leg into the field and get network connections with these mentors. Well, if we can't give you something, like literally you go into a field like Boeing or Raytheon and you basically get to work on projects that you technically won't see until you get into the job field. So
I think Jerry has a great personal story about this because
Yeah.
I don't want to say the only reason you have your job, but I mean, a large reason is that you met Bob here.
yeah, so one of the old parents that used to have a kid here and just mentor, he works at the company I work at now, and basically just came up to me and was like, "Hey, you want a job?" I was like, "Sure." So it's a great networking place too, just to get your feet wet and actually kind of understand if you want to do engineering or if you have another field of passion that you're interested in.
That first job is the toughest.
Yes.
I think. So, I guess, does anyone have any questions?
For Richie.
Or any of the students?
Basically anything that we went over just now, because after this we're kind of going to segue into Mr. Nakano leading the presentation and telling you guys what exactly we want you guys as parents to do in order to support, such an amazing program. We will also be transferring over in the middle of his presentation, over into the meeting room, which is where we normally meet. And you guys will see where our students kind of work. And we'll be going through STEM signups, which is very important. Mr. Nakano will talk about it a little bit more. But any questions beforehand?
It's just a thing, like it doesn't take long. We have to go to our first website with parents, and so this is very convenient. We have 60 laptops ready to go. Kids are here, you're here. We can take care of most of it.
Yeah.
Questions?
You might be about to cover this,
Yeah.
but do students get a chance to sort of go through rotations to experience some of the different jobs? Or should they seek out one of the student leaders to say, hey, I'm interested in programming, or I'm interested in the business side?
Sorry, I didn't elaborate on this enough. But actually, a lot of us, even though we're like team leads, we mix a lot in different categories. I know, Stanford, you do a lot of CAD. I sometimes do CAD. Dylan, he's also on the electrical team with me. We all kind of, although we kind of have our focus and we realize towards the end of the year what we want to exactly do, we don't have a very strict regime where it's like, oh, if you're on this team, you're not allowed to work on anything else. Like your student is just allowed to say, hey, this looks interesting, I'm interested in doing it, and then they're able to learn. I guess the reason why we kind of have these team leads is so that your students have people to reach out to, so that they can really get to know and pursue what they want to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If your student or your child is interested in a particular area, they can always seek out the mentors that are subject matter experts in that area.
Any other questions?
So of all of you leads, how many of you are seniors? And if you're not a senior,
we're all seniors.
That's the scary part.
Oh yeah.
So we're lucky because we have them. Some teams, based on how COVID hit, they lost them last year and they're now just like, shoot, we have no leadership.
Yeah.
We're very lucky, but they are all seniors up there.
Yeah, so obviously this isn't our regular, I don't know what the best way to order it.
It's not a regular startup for the year.
Yes.
Normally we'd have a mix of about 3 classes that have gone through this before, and we're pretty much dealing with freshmen and people who just found this year. But this year, we are...
Look at it this way. How many of you guys have done a season with us, like in
A
the
full
past?
season.
Like 4.
2, 3, maybe 4. They're all green, basically.
Yeah.
Which is good, because we have some kids that can teach them and mentors. So we're really excited about this year.
I'm not sure if you guys remember, some of your kids actually did the summer program. That's not something that we've done before. We're just trying to make sure as we leave that your students are adequately prepared for the next upcoming season. Because obviously, this season's going to be a recovery year. But we're going to try to do our best and hopefully make it to Worlds. Yeah. Any other questions?
So how do you guys manage your study schedules with, like, for example, in the season? Like, is that a lot of management or?
Yeah, so that's actually a skill that I learned a lot during the season. It's a little bit hard, but it's a growing period. I've learned how to balance my schedule well, and it's helped me during the times that Torbots isn't on and isn't doing their like full-on build season, where I've been able to manage my time a little bit better. And that's like a great skill to have. But that's the reason why Stanford pointed this out in our like scheduling. We pointed out that during finals week, we take the whole week off because we want your students to succeed well. Another thing that I vividly remember during my freshman year was any of the subjects that I'm struggling in, there's so many people on the team that you're bound to have someone who's like, oh yes, I genuinely grasp this concept, I can help you out. So it's actually kind of a cool resource.
So we generally, they come to the shop during the week, they usually plop down in that room and go through their homework as fast as they can. But we like to see them get their homework done out of the way, that way they know they can use the rest of the evening for robotics. And also we in the past we haven't, but now that we're functioning more like a team now than ever, that the eligibility requirements, like if you don't have a certain grade, you can't play on sports. I don't quite know what the exact GPA is. I do know that I now receive the list, and so if their grades aren't up, you guys aren't going to the regionals. Like,
realistically,
heads up.
Realistically, we don't manage their time that way. So if they need to study,
yes.
I think as parents, you guys are going to have to get on them about that.
Yeah, I can only see their. I'm not going to know it. Well, it's easy for me to see my kids, my specific students, but it's very hard for me to like know that they're struggling in their classes.
I think just to elaborate on Hannah's point, I think one of the biggest things is just like we do have that room is kind of like a study room after school, and most of the students, like she said, can get help in the past, at least, because that's really all we can say. In the past, we've had a lot of gradation of students, whether it be freshmen all the way up to seniors, and at some point someone's taken the class you take.
Or teaches it.
Or teaches it.
These kids have pretty heavy schedules too.
Well, that's why they don't have to be here every single day.
Yeah, that's why. If your classes are about, dip out for a week.
5 APs, no, they can do all the APs and do Torbots at the same time.
I mean, all of us, I think, are at least taking 2 APs, and we're doing fine. We're fine. But yeah, I mean, if your student feels like you're struggling a little bit, we're here to support you guys. Obviously, you guys can communicate with, I think any of the board members are more than happy to help you guys. Because spread out across all of us, I think we've taken basically every course offered on campus. Yeah.
It's probably true.
Yeah, and one other thing is like, if we see your students are here like the entire time the shop is open,
and they're not doing homework ever,
it's like
I'll pull up their grades. I can pull them up.
Even if they're up to date on their homework, if your student's been here for a full week and every time the shop's open, we'll probably chase them out for a couple of days just so they can recover.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I've warned people about that before.
Well, continue on.
Because they have other things, they need time out away from your orientation.
So are you open every day after school? And what do you consider reasonable participation or active participation to be?
Well, obviously, I mean, we're all leads, but I think we've all taken very different schedules. For example, I and Meg's here. That's Meg, our strategy lead. But she's also captain of the swim team, so she obviously has to go to swim practice every week. And so she comes in like do you want to say something about your schedule?
I kind of try to, I shouldn't say, I probably try to take school above robotics. So I get my coursework done before I come in. I come in after practice, and I stay here until I know, make sure I have enough time to do my sport. That's pretty much it though.
So it's like, it varies. For some of us, it's like a few hours a week, or a few hours like during the weekdays, so like maybe like 4 or 5 hours spread out. So like 1 hour on average per day during the weekday, and then 4 hours on the weekend, some of us. Others of us, we spend a lot more time in the shop. It really depends. I don't think we judge anyone based on how much time they spent in the shop. It's more so if they use that time efficiently. And just making sure that you're utilizing the time that you're actually present to, do something with it.
I guess to answer the first part of your question, then, yes, the shop is open effectively 7 days a week. Open every day after school, usually from after school till about 10 o'clock usually.
10 o'clock at night?
Yes.
Okay.
And then pretty much 10 a.m. to about 10 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays.
During build.
During build season.
Yeah, it's kind of like during the 6 weeks, it's a lot of sacrifice. Like you're going to end up doing a lot more robotics and a lot less video games. You still got to get your schoolwork done, but it's very hard to not focus on it. There's a lot of work to do.
So as a parent, I have to say you have to watch the kids because
This is fun.
Their grades will start to dip during robotics season if you don't watch it. And so, because if it's up to them, they'd rather be here than study. It's so much more fun learning robotics. So just realistically, keep your eye on their studies. Make sure that they're...
Watch the grades, and if they don't have good grades, don't let them come.
Once you have a major competition in LA, San Diego, and then maybe World, is it once you get the robot you need to build, is it one robot for all competitions, or does it change?
So by rule, it has to be, I think, the same general robot. Oh, no back day anymore. So actually, it can't be different robots.
Yeah,
we always build one robot.
Okay, let's not get into rules.
The is that one robot shows up at each competition.
Yeah, we build a robot and then we kind of iterate on it a little bit. So sometimes we'll have a different container, different whatever, but generally it's the same.
And when you get into the build season, do you kind of segregate it out, like, okay, the first 10 days are design, and then we're going to do then a week of getting the parts and materials, and then build. You guys subdivide the time?
We usually have about the first week or so planned out like that, but depending on what the game is or really like that, it can kind of change. We have to kind of play it by ear. We do a lot of stand-up meetings and something like that. We kind of plan what we want for the rest of the week, but before build.
It's kind of a big evolving whiteboard of what we're trying to get done that week.
You'll see in the meeting room when we go in there, on the wall, you'll see this whiteboard. And right now it's kind of empty, but normally it's filled with like the different types of categories that we're doing, just to keep us organized and on track so we can have actual deadlines depending on that.
So, are there things, rather than coming into the shop, that they could do from home to help with the robotic build? Because it's like, in our case, my son sometimes has to come up with me to Northridge, and the drive down is a bit.
Our CAD system is actually all online, so I can actually run on the phone. Like, we can do everything. So yeah, we can do CAD remotely, and we've done that in the past. Is there anything else we can do?
Social media,
You can also do coding
You can
also
work on the
remotely.
program.
You can work on that remotely. Electronics and you can design the electronics board remotely on CAD, which is something
Even
that
just
we do.
researching how to pick up a ball. Like when you learn with the game pieces, I often find myself looking at children's toys or all kinds of mechanisms, trying to figure out how you make something move. Looking at old robots.
I guess the answer to your question is if they're interested in machining the parts or actually like putting the robot together, they have to be here. But most of the other stuff you can do virtually.
Because COVID has forced, I'm sure, many of our jobs, and to go online. We've embraced many of those technologies. So we have ways for your student to work remotely. But like Hannah said, obviously, this has to be physically built there.
Any other questions?
Can you say a few words about safety? How do you teach the kids about the safety culture, and who has the oversight of safety and using these machines, as well as building a fairly high quality?
There's never a lot of
So basically, when your students registered, in order to be present in the shop, present in the shop, you had to pass a safety test after attending a safety presentation. So we required them to listen to this presentation where basically explain, what are you supposed to wear in this room? For example, obviously there's no machining parts right now, but you have to, in order to be in this room, you have to have safety glasses on, your hair has to be tied, closed-toed shoes, long pants, all these different types of things in order for them to know how to be safe, basically. Again, additionally, each of these different machines, we elaborated in the safety presentation exactly how they are trained on it. For example, some of them, like the mill, you have to be taught by a mentor. None of the board members can teach your student how to do that, so you'd have to pull aside like Eric and say, hey, I really want to learn how to use the mill, and they would teach you. A lot of different types of standards for that, and in order to be present in the room, other than the meeting room, your student had to have passed the safety test. So that type of thing. And then additionally, the board tries to reiterate and make sure that, obviously we mess up too sometimes, but making sure to be safe, and even in our mistakes, making sure that we make the mistakes in as a safe way as possible. And then we also have the, the mentors emphasizing to us, hey, this might not be a good idea, that type of thing.
So that's what the safety.
Yeah.
So they're also never allowed to be in here unsupervised, right? So we always have to have at least, we always have at least 2 adults here whenever this shop is open. And if we can't have 2 adults, we just don't open the shop, or we close the shop down. So it's we never allow them to be in here unsupervised either.
And the 2 adults can be, at least one of them can be a parent. So one of you, if you guys can take a shift where at least the mentor's here, but at least the parent's also there to kind of, as a safety precaution, because
what if the one parent gets injured, then you have a bunch of teenagers with an injured parent, so there's a second person.
Yeah.
We'll elaborate on that a little bit later on. Mr. McConnell will talk about that. Any other questions? No? All right, we'll move on. Mr. McConnell will tell you guys what exactly to expect.
So just, yeah.
My 2-year-old. He's having a lot of fun.
So there's just a few charts here. It's nothing much. So I'm probably one of the few parents. I think Mr. Cohen is the other mentor who's also a previous parent. So our perspective is a little different than some of the other mentors. So I've basically been with the club since like 2014. My daughter was a member at the time, and I kind of came on as a mentor because we needed some help. One of the great parts when I joined that I really liked about the club is our diverse set of mentors that we have. They're from all different areas. Richie's a software engineer. We've got mechanical, electrical, people who work on fab. It's actually really great. And then we have the faculty folks like Mr. Petito and Michael who really contributed a lot. So just a little background. I retired right before the pandemic hit, which was perfect timing. Because I was sitting at home and it was like, oh, this is great, right? Everyone's locked down and I'm retired. So it ended up being nice, but I ended up going back as a contractor shortly thereafter. So my background is electrical engineering, so that's the subject matter that I teach. And so as a parent, I think one of the things I want you guys to feel comfortable with is communicating to us. If there's issues with your student or with your kid, if they have some issues. I know it's not a great time as a parent when the kids are at this age. I can tell you, you're lucky if your kids are like communicating to you, but I know it's tough. There's a lot of angst, things like that. So if there's issues with your child, you need to talk to us. Feel free to. I can relate to you. So, and then the other thing too is that every season, because we have such high turnover, right? Our seniors leave, we get new freshmen in. It's really important for us to pull in new mentors. And you guys don't have to be engineers. You could have expertise in other areas. We had a mentor that was super helpful with arranging accommodations when we traveled. So she set up all the hotels. She made sure that she communicated with all the parents. She coordinated all that stuff. If you're good at that kind of stuff and you want to help us, we really would appreciate it, because right now we have nobody doing that. Well, I'm sorry. Michael's been stuck with it.
A lot of the team used to be run by a group of parents that kind of evolved over time, and due to COVID, they all kind of left because their kids all graduated, and I've taken over a lot of their jobs, which is fine.
But it's a lot to do by yourself.
It's something like the PTA.
Yeah. So, for instance, Michael did a couple of off-season events with the kids. He arranged the bus for one of the trips we had, which was a big deal because you have to coordinate all that stuff, collect money. He had zero help from parents on that trip, and I can't even imagine doing that by myself. But
yeah, even just like for San Diego, just real talk, we're not doing a bus. That'd be way too expensive. We're going to need some drivers. So that's, you know, and
And because it is a faraway event, we won't have as many students going as maybe Los Angeles, but we'll definitely need help. And that's kind of some of the next charts here. Well, let's talk about keeping the kids safe. So first understands, you know, these events that are at the regionals, LA and San Diego, they have protocols for wearing masks, limiting the number of people in the room, that kind of thing. It's kind of an evolving scenario right now, though, because we don't know where things are going, right? We've got the new variant cropping up. Hopefully we don't get shut down. That'd be the worst case. That did happen in 2020. But they may limit participation. They may limit the number of people who could be in the building and things like that. So
the organization that put on Beach Blitz is different than the one that throws the regionals. So Beach Blitz is not the fact that we were hard limited to 20 people, that's a completely different organization that ran the event. So we have no idea if. Yeah.
So we'll have to play that one by ear, but you know, just to let you guys know, it's going to be dynamic. You know, same with school, right? Because that's things could change. So the other thing is that because we spend so much time in the shop and, you know, fairly close proximity, we got to be really careful about spreading stuff. And so we're encouraging people to get tested as frequently as possible, maybe weekly, just to make sure that no one's carrying the virus. Because last thing we want is someone to have it, then we got to go into, you know, contact tracing and all that stuff. And that's no fun. So just, you know, to be aware of the spread. We also don't know the various levels of comfort for parents, right? Some parents may be, we don't really care, or another parent may be super paranoid about it. So just, you know, let us know if you guys have some real concerns. We're trying to be careful. You know, we're enforcing masks, that kind of thing. We're trying to keep social distancing. So the other thing is, during build season, a lot of times the kids are bringing lunches or dinners, or we have it brought in by a parent. And we hopefully get all you guys to sign up. We want to make sure everyone's okay with that, right? Because we're going to bring in food for everybody, and the kids are going to be eating from that. So hopefully you're okay with that. If not, talk to us about it. Okay. Yes?
How did you deal with food allergies?
So that's another topic actually that we're going to discuss is we want to make sure that if you do have food allergies, you know, like peanut allergy, or maybe you're vegetarian, you don't eat meat, that kind of stuff we need to know about, right? Because we want to make sure that we don't have problems. That's a good question, yes. So what we kind of need from you guys is during the 6-week of build season, lots of kids in the shop for long hours, right? So us mentors, most of them work. I'm kind of half-time, but since they're not always here, oftentimes we need parents to be here because we always need, you know, two adults in the shop at all times. So we're going to have what we call a sign-up genius, and we're going to ask you guys to sign up, you know, when you can spare some time. It's really important. The other thing is for the meals. We have lots of hungry kids are working long hours here. Typically on weekdays it's after school until 10 p.m. Weekends it's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So weekdays it's lunch or dinner, and then weekends it's lunch and dinner. So we ask parents to sign up for bringing meals in, just so we can spread it across. And I think if you sign up like 2 spots, it pretty well covers the build season for us. So just to give you guys a rough estimate. And then transportation to our regionals, which are going to be in LA and San Diego. And then logistics support. So when we're at these events, oftentimes we're so busy with the event itself, you know, all of the matches coming up, that we don't have time to deal with food. So if a parent could come in and help us with that, it's really helpful. You know, just, you're not going to pay for it, obviously. But if you could just like organize, you know, setting it up outside. They usually have benches and things like that. Setting the drinks up, setting the food up. And then when we get called for lunch, then all the kids come out and eat. It's really helpful to have our parents help us. So STEM, that's just an acronym for the First Robotics Sign Up. This is where both the parents and the students need to log in and sign in. And we can actually do it in the room.
Do it right now. I have it set up and everything.
Okay, perfect. So Hannah will take you guys over there. I guess that's it.
So do you guys have any questions for this portion before we move on to Slack and making sure that you guys are all registered with our team. All right, teleport over there into the meeting room.
I was very excited to see us. Why did it stay up? That's my question. There was pressure.
Always. Ever
You
since I
picked me up
started,
after the first time I did it. I understand now. Since they're picking on me now, what's the deal?
they just started making it.
Best poker round.
Favorite bumper. Their favorite joke to pick on me with is just.
You're the best.
That was a group.
Who else is going to do our bumper?
Yeah, I wasn't making fun.
I know.
All right, what we're going to do is we'll do one family per laptop, and then we only have about 38 laptops out right now. We're going to go ahead and also like turn on the robot if you want to see it actually move. Because, and then anyone who's not able to fit in there, we'll take care of you right afterwards.
No, not doing that.
We're not doing that? Oh yeah, we're not turning the robot on. I guess we can also show you the other part.
Yeah, versus like that was
Yeah, students, if you're here with your parents, help them with sign-ups. Oh, the red card. Oh, I figured.
So like, we made finals in LA last year. At least they know it's
actually we're pretty good. Yeah, was getting called.
We were very.
Some of the standard tech files.
We were very clean. I also think we weren't doing too much ramming due to our slightly shady situation of losing power and ramming the wallet.
I was actually thinking of calling the number on the house right I didn't know who's.
I liked it, but
I didn't like it. My grades were like, this is just happening. And then we go.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And some of the neat things is that this actually signs out a laser light that allows it to automate. Kids originally wanted a turret. So actually over here you can see their graveyard where some of the original, I guess it's been mucked, but that whole sprocket thing was for the gear mechanism for swiveling the whole head. And the ball was going to come up through the middle of it. Although there was another, I don't know where it is, but anyhow, it's crazy like what they could produce on this thing.
How does it shoot? Does the whole robot have to turn?
Yeah, so the whole robot aims itself as if it's one big turret. So it's its own wheels, and then just beat speed into here, and there she goes. And it's just dialing in. Kind of, they have a couple of distances they like to shoot from because the arc, they have a couple of sweet spots. And so you kind of learn where that is on the field. And so we build half the field in here. And then also originally there was a big wheel that they had to spin around in a circle and read the color that was on it. So there was a whole other mechanism that used to be attached here that they had to also design and thing. But now it's just, I can go ahead.
If you're going to bring your robot down,
It's a lot of like trial and error, finding the right kind of wheels and figuring out what works best.
So they have to go and find you have a supplier that you buy certain things from? Or?
Yeah, there's a few like in order to be a supplier for this competition, you have to be able to deliver parts in a timely manner. There's a few companies that specialize in it. But there's
Robots Live, everybody kind of takes stuff out.
there's a lot of money that gets spent. So it's whatever they want. Their McMaster or Vex or Andy Mark seems to have it. Cool. So that's an air compressor because there's pistons like these guys right here. They use gas to actuate it. So you got an onboard compressor pressurizing the robot. You got sensors so you don't overpressurize, shut off the compressor when you hit 110.
What kind of batteries does it use?
12 volt.
It's just a 12 volt, okay. So the motorcycle batteries.
Yeah, they do new battery every round, so they're nice and juicy.
Yeah.
Very fast. And all the motors, they have a separate, like, you can see the little blinking lights down there. Every motor has a controller, because that's what you see in the code. So there's a robot brain in the bottom that sends information. The power distribution panel to that. It sends power to everything. The motor has what you want to do. That tells the motor basically how much voltage. It's very like they control the voltage. We have one robot as soon as they have a ball, laser. No, why should and then it just knows, oh, I've got a ball, I should do this. Right, so that's actually this robot. So this crazy arm, they had like 3 or 4 angles and angles of that. Because it has one gun. It lowered itself down to the white light and right angle. So it's simply picked up, then it would do that. And so it has sensors to know what's angle. It just uses electronics. So this is the very first year we had the CNC. This was the robot that they built before that. So that's the second robot that built with access to CNC. When I got here the first year, I got it. No CNC, no 3D So the CNC, worlds, we managed to get to with our robot that didn't have a CNC. A dumb robot that did well. Didn't actually do everything it's supposed to. It took us to world. The kids entered a challenge. It's like $2,000. Now, what you guys always want, they want CNC to send $1,000 into that. Yeah. So the district gives us like $2,500 a year, and then I have a lot of money through. There's a lot of grants for engineering. So like, and I have 10 3D printers in my backyard. I probably bought 6.
No, we're not going up there. I'll show you up
So,
there
but
another time.
we ask for some money for the kids. We have corporate sponsors that'll pay for things. It helps a lot, like Cohen and Raytheon help pay for our competitions. And but we have, unfortunately, like that big air compressor over there is busted, so just buy one. So sometimes it's not. We actually have a carbon fiber 3D printer that they that was our big. Yeah, so this is what they finished putting together this week. What it is the old robot over here has gearboxes located somewhere around here. They're big and heavy because they're just off the shelf. So they designed this. This is CNC mill. These are carbon fiber. These are 3 really powerful motors. It's not actually that heavy considering what it is. The old ones are twice as heavy. And it's smaller.
Yeah, carbon fiber for weight. I agree with you. It looks awfully thick.
That's important. They wouldn't do it It's like teaching the kids some stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's like my work, I have to be very concerned with.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of torque on the plates, right?
That's three of the most powerful. That's three powerful motors all trying to spin stuff.
Yeah, so there's definitely.
Just trying to turn the output shaft.
But I bought the gears for that like 2 weeks ago. They emailed me and they're like, we want to buy a whole bunch of gears, very specific, like 30 teeth, 40 teeth, this, that, and the other. I'm like, hope you guys did some math.
Yeah. If you did the math, you're okay. If you didn't,
I have a feeling by did the math, they probably started from another team's design or something.
it wouldn't surprise me, but there's also calculators out there.
I mean, we're holding something they made.
Not anymore.
We're trying to get the kids to do as much as we can get away with. There's some stuff
Something like this, is this something that just turns to new stuff or spinning and driving?
That's the drivetrain.
Yeah, this gets bolted to the robot and makes the robot move forward backwards.
Probably.
But that's something where it's like, you'll probably learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Goes wrong, they run from that.
Mommy will get it.
And this was the week before we got shut down. Literally a week later than San Diego, people were ready to go.
Let's go.
Everything, okay, we're shut down. And we had taken a week off because we kind of burned out, but we needed to do some work. Well, we never got that work done until like late summer. And we realized quickly that we had a lot of time.
Yeah, it's over there, huh? He's like, why are you taking so long to talk? She just doesn't trust me.
Younger than some of these guys.
I should have killed the recording earlier. That's funny.